Evening everybody, Silverbolt here, back for what is now my 75th video. Blooming heck, have I really been doing this for 75 videos worth? Shit. But to mark the occasion, I thought I'd do a very recognisable and very famous character from G1, namely Galvatron. Okay, now, Galvatron, of course, instantly recognisable, shows up in Transformers the movie. Where Megatron, after having his apocalyptic battle with Optimus Prime, is ejected into space by the other Decepticons. He bumps into Unicron, who promptly, in return for Galvatron destroying the Autobot leader of Megatron destroying the Autobot leader of Autobot Matrix of Leadership, get your words right, Si, makes him into Galvatron. And in all fairness, Galvatron, voiced of course by Mr. Spock himself, Leonard Nimoy, starts off pretty well. You know, the first thing he does is to do what Megatron for some reason was never able to do, which was kill Starscream, in one of the best lines in the Transformers movie. Starscream turns around and goes, "Megatron, is that you?" And Galvatron promptly goes, "Here's a hint," and blasts him to dust. Awesome moment. Awesome moment. However, Galvatron's start comes to a very abrupt stop when he's kicked out of Unicron's arse by Rodimus, and he ends up on the planet Thrull, where he, for some reason, decides that he's going to sit in a plasma bath for God knows how long, until that ever-lovable lick-arse Cyclonus comes along and digs him out. Galvatron, as we find out in the episode Web World, which was another one of G1's really stupid episodes, but there we go, has had his metaprocessor damaged by plasma leaking into his helmet, well, into his head, making him irreversibly insane. Galvatron's insanity seems to be formed into a deep-rooted psychosis coupled with a childlike tantrum fit. And all he seems to do throughout the rest of Series 3 is have a tantrum, shout off, shoot his gun, and hit his own men. But anyway, we'll get to that part in time. Galvatron immediately, of course, resumes control of the Decepticons, releasing them from their deal with the Quintessons, or rather just basically telling the Quintessons where to shove it, and proceeds to become the Decepticon leader. And I'm sorry, but he is not a patch on Megatron, in any way, shape or form. By the way, I'm going to be sticking with the Galvatron storylines mostly for the reviews for their storylines in the cartoons, namely because there is a crap load of stuff about Galvatron in the comics, which I will get to. Galvatron throughout Series 3 comes up with numerous plot schemes to stop the Autobots, mainly revolving around his enmity with Rodimus, because of course he's got a rather grand dislike for Rodimus. And his insanity seems to grow more and more and more. Of course, Leonard Nimoy didn't continue to do the voice of Galvatron for the rest of Series 3. And I suppose you can put down his insanity down to the fact that which is why his voice changed. Galvatron makes numerous appearances to note throughout Series 3, as you can well imagine, cultivating what is considered to be the most comedic of all Series 3 in the episode Web World, where Cyclonus, who is sick of being punched across the face for the slightest thing that never happened, decides to check Galvatron into a Looney Tunes colony, where Galvatron is somewhat healed to some disrespect, and so apparently ends the insanity of Galvatron, or at least suppresses it to some extent. However, all is not meant to be. When Galvatron manages to survive the hate plague in the episodes of The Return of Optimus Prime, he teams up with Prime and consequently betrays him. When Prime gets reanimated by Quintessons and the others. Consequently betrays him, obviously. But at the end, neglects to carry on the fighting, saying that you have won Galvatron's respect. So it would appear that Galvatron's insanity has been, you know, stamped out a little bit. However, it turns out that this insanity was just kind of like building itself up, kind of like a charge in a nuclear reactor, you know, just waiting for it to blow up. In the form of Galvatron deciding that he's going to open the key to the plasma energy chamber because he's sick of losing, and he blames two things for this. He blames Cybertron and he blames Earth. So he decides, fuck it, I'm going to blow up the both of them. Now there's one itty bitty problem with this great big plan that Galvatron's has that not many people seem to have noticed in the G1 cartoon in the Rebirth, is that Galvatron's master plan of blowing up both Earth and Cybertron, using the key to the plasma energy chamber to overload the sun. Never mind the fact that he managed to build a rocket on the back of Cybertron and propel it all the way to Earth. No, we won't go into that one. He has the little problem of still being on the bloody planet. And if Scorponok hadn't shown up when he did, how the hell was Galvatron supposed to get off the Cybertron? But there we go. Galvatron comes again, he's one of the main antagonists in the Japanese Headmasters, where again his insanity is much more reduced. He's more of just a military leader than a Looney Tunes psycho killer. And he has numerous run-ins with Zarok, slash Scorponok. Because of course he's Scorponok in Japanese Headmasters, he's not really Zarok. And he has numerous run-ins with him. Eventually it leads to Galvatron being on his own independent faction away from Scorponok. And Galvatron, it appears, meets his end about 2/3 the way through Headmasters, where he is dropped into an ice glacier thing and crushed. It appears that is the end of Galvatron. However, the idea of Megatron becoming Galvatron doesn't end there. It's taken over into RID. Megatron becomes Galvatron, and being in RID gets about 3 or 4 new forms. To I think he actually gets a total of 10 alternation forms as he is Galvatron, and gets a new colour scheme. That seems to be how Megatron becomes Galvatron. He gets a new colour scheme. That's about all that happens to him. That's how you become more powerful in RID. And that idea is carried on into the Unicron trilogy, the very dubious Unicron trilogy anyway, of Armada, Energon and Cybertron. Now apparently it's supposed to be that Megatron becomes Galvatron in Armada. He then gets reformatted again for Energon, but he's still Galvatron. But of course, Hasbro decided they wanted to keep the idea of Megatron becoming Galvatron. So Armada goes Megatron, Galvatron, then Energon comes into it and it's Megatron, Galvatron, and then you have Transformers Cybertron. Now in Japan, Transformers Cybertron is called Galaxy Quest, and it's not intended to be a tie-in to the first 2 series. The Americans bollocksed all that up and decided to turn it into the 3rd part of the Unicron trilogy. And again, it becomes Megatron and Galvatron. And all you need to do to become a more powerful version of yourself is get a different paint job. Galvatron isn't very well received amongst the fan base. There's a lot of people who don't like him, and I'm one of them. I do not like Galvatron. I think this whiny, screamy, attention-seeking, I'm going to shoot my own men, have a temper tantrum when things don't go my own way, really isn't the kind of thing you'd look for in this supposedly all-powerful leader. There is one person, however, that absolutely loves Galvatron, and I mean probably has a cuddly teddy that he sleeps with every night. And that is the ever-wonderful Simon Furman. Now, the reason I said at the beginning of the video that I'm not going to go into the comic book storylines of Galvatron is because of Simon Furman. Because Simon Furman has created not 1, not 2, but I believe it's actually 5 Galvatrons throughout different Transformer timelines continuities. Galvatron ends up, it's no wonder that Galvatron's insane, though his insanity is more put forward in a type of enhanced megalomania than it is schizophrenia. Because Galvatron keeps jumping back and forth in time, and he allies with Megatron, then he destroys Megatron, then he helps Megatron, then he helps Cyclonus, then he kills Cyclonus, and Megatron kills Cyclonus in the past. And it's such a mind-boggling comic styling of events, that the kind of crap that only Simon Furman can come out with, that if I was actually to sit there and explain it to you, you'd go nuts. You really would, and I'd confuse myself. Simon Furman even puts because Simon Furman, of course, wrote the UK comics, but he also took over the American comics as well and introduced even more timeline continuities, and even random appearances from, I think it's parallel universe Galvatrons. It's mind fucking. It really is. But Simon's relationship with Galvatron doesn't end there. Oh no. Galvatron actually pops into Armada in another parallel universe time shift crap. Do you get the impression I'm not a big fan of Simon Furman? Not the least because he's got the same first name as me. But anyway, he actually comes into Armada and has a big cataclysmic battle with Megatron, with Armada Megatron. And Armada Megatron actually starts to lose, until the Starsaber Minicons, realising that Galvatron is a bigger threat, form the Darksaber, form the Starsaber, go to Galvatron, become the Darksaber, and Darksaber Megatron promptly smites Galvatron like a righteous comet. Okay! 10 points if you can guess the reference with okay! But yes, that's it for comic release of Galvatron. On to the toy. Now, Galvatron, originally, when he was originally released, was, of course, a grey metallic colour. Though he was one of the larger ones, mainly because he was powered by a 9-volt battery, because he has light-up features and sounds and things like that. This is the Japanese reissue of Galvatron, and he's much more reliable purple colour, and much nicer, I think, as well as purple. Okay, Galvatron has 3 modes. Okay, now in the cartoon, and in both the Japanese and the American cartoons, you only see 2. The first, obviously, is his robot mode. The other would be his main alternate mode, which I'll just run through very quickly now for you. Just got to remember how to do this quickly. Very quickly remember how to do this. The one, of course, is his kind of like artillery cannon job, which is, of course, the one that he famously uses to blow Starscream to Kingdom Come and back. I think I've done that wrong. Hang on, I'll just do this quickly anyway. Click, 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 click. There we go. Hang on, get his very famous blaster cannon. Shove his legs in like that. No, that's wrong. That is wrong, but never mind. Never mind. You get the general gist. That's his cannon mode. Similar to, kind of like an AA battery. Okay, but he does have a third form, and it's quite cool. And it's never shown in the comics, though it does come into the. It's never shown in the cartoon, sorry, but it does come into the comics a fair bit. Once or twice anyway. In that, similar to Megatron, he has a hand pistol mode. Again, an example of mass shifting, so he can mass shift down. Okay, Galvatron also has, this is the reissue, the original one only had one sound effect, I think, I'm not sure because I don't have it, the original issue. This one's got 3. You have transforming sound, which you get either by pushing the buckle here, or by pulling the trigger. You have this one. Japanese voice phrases, obviously. And the third one, blaster noises! Yes, I'm just a big kid. He also lights up, as you can tell. There you go. And also, because I should have shown you before, but I didn't. Naturally, you can't see it. There you go. The eyes light up as well. This reissue one isn't cheap. It's actually quite expensive, but I actually got a pretty good deal on it from a Buy It Now guy that was selling it from America. I saw this when I was in Blackpool, in one of those geeky shops, those sci-fi cult shops, for 40 quid. That was for an import, so you're probably looking at about 30 quid if you can get it from Japan. But it's a very nice one, and I think it's much nicer than the original release. It's one of the main reasons why I didn't get a Galvatron ages and ages ago, is because I wanted this one. So I was quite pleased when I got it. But that's it for Galvatron and my 75th video. Hopefully it's made you laugh a little bit. I'll show you back shortly with another one. But for now, this is Silverbolt signing off with Galvatron, saying adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.